Alright guys, well, it's been a while I've done videos like this. What's up everybody, what's going on my YouTube guys? This is Angel Lopez or AALS3179. Today I'm going to make another video. Today I'm going to be talking about some top 10 teams that a lot of you guys that may know of, but mostly a lot of the new generation fans that don't know that they exist way before the team that exists today. So I'm going to give you guys some certain teams that the 10 teams that I know of for now, but these are all the teams that I found out and I did my research and stuff. So yeah, here are the teams that you guys didn't know that they exist way before the current team that exists right now. So this is like, well, at the time the video's posted in 2023, so hopefully maybe if YouTube existed later on the years, even if I'm not around, I hope this will teach everybody how, how you guys didn't realize, because I know time will be moving on by then. So anyways, let's not worry about that. So let's just worry about right now. So coming up with our next list. Alrighty, so the first top 10 list will be the Cleveland Browns. Now, for anyone that from the new generation, like I say, this is like a video mostly for new generation. So, this is why I studied this. So, back in 1995, like if anybody who is a Cleveland Browns fan, if you guys think that this is the original Browns, well, look up 1995, because back in 1995, your original Cleveland Browns have already relocated from Cleveland to Baltimore. Now, I heard a lot of stories because it all started with this owner named Art Modell who owns the Cleveland Browns. After some dispute relationships between him, the fans, including the city, there's been a lot of, back and forth smack talkings and, all that stuff. However, Armodell decided to relocate the team. Well, his purpose of his reason, from his point of view, is because he was trying to get a new stadium. Unfortunately, the city of Cleveland ignored the Browns, like they were focusing on their Cleveland Indians and the Cavaliers, and they're not, focusing on the Browns. So, Armodell did not want to move it. But after that, he had enough of this. He decided to relocate the team to Baltimore. However, to the fans, they said that they did offer him, but Armodell rejected. However, I like I say, I don't even know what was the whole. I know whatever I saw so many videos, but I don't know the whole extra stories to the caution. But what I do know is that Cleveland Browns, like I understand, they're very upset, including to put the cherry top even worse, that your original team has not, made it to the Super Bowl until when they're relocated, and then they are now renamed to, which is known as the Baltimore Ravens. However, the reason why they renamed the Baltimore Ravens is because there's been some agreement between Modell and the city of Cleveland to, like, please leave the trademark, the names, the colors, everything, to keep it in Cleveland. Armodell agreed. He decided to relocate, but without changing the name, but without bringing the name of the Browns. Instead of Baltimore Browns, now they're called the Baltimore Ravens, which was inspired by the Edgar Allan Poe of the poetry. However, it was kind of really sad to see, that Cleveland fans. But I believe, look, like as a Raider fan, I believe Cleveland Browns, the newer version, they could have a good chance. Well, maybe not right now, but maybe someday soon. But as a respect, but like I say, but you never know. However, it is what it is. But even though I know that a lot of Browns fans were so mad, and I heard that the first time they faced each other when the Browns won, when they beat the Ravens, that was like a great piece of the pie that they love to hear. But however, Browns have more winning streaks than not the Browns. I'm sorry, the Baltimore Ravens. Because of that rivalry, the Ravens have more winning streaks than the Browns, but there's still been a back and forth. However, a lot of fans may forgive Armodell. Sadly, the man, he's no longer with here, even though he has the greatest mind of football. But I heard the NFL does not like him, and he's still not an introduction to the NFL Hall of Fame. I'm not so sure if it's true or not, but that's what I heard. But even though they could have a good agreements, but still, it is what it is. However, good news for Cleveland. They still got the Browns, but even though the original Browns are now the Baltimore Ravens. So, yeah. All right, so the next team that mostly a lot of people, especially from New Orleans and mostly from Charlotte, that they recognize this team. Yes, the Charlotte Hornets. Now, the Charlotte Hornets, the original team, is the New Orleans Pelicans. How it all started is because their former owner, known as George Shim, I think that's his name, George Shim, there was a bit of a controversial that he was going through a lot of, back and forth relations between him and the city, and some controversial moments, which I'm not going to explain it. You guys can just look it up yourself. However, after that, there was been no decisions, no desire, and he wanted to sell the team, but the NBA didn't want it to. And to be fair, that I'll give the NBA that they don't want to repeat the one from what happened with, like I mentioned earlier, about the Cleveland Browns and Armodell and stuff like that. So this is the agreement. So after the Hornets have already relocated to New Orleans, the original Charlotte Hornets are now in New Orleans, became the New Orleans Hornets. However, they decided to expand a new team, which is known as the Charlotte Bobcats. But it didn't last until that's not until 2014 when the Hornets already. I'm sorry, not the Hornets. The Bobcats were back, bringing back the original name Hornets. It's because at the time what happened was George Shim sold it to the owner of the New Orleans Saints. I forgot what was his name. I think was his last name is Benson. So Mr. Benson already purchased the team. After once he purchased the team, he decided to bring back, try to get rid of the Hornets. However, fun fact is Benson was trying to get, bring back the original Utah Jazz, which is the Jazz or the New Orleans Jazz, you can say. But at the time, the problem is that the franchise did not want to sell it because they had that name for a very long time. So the New Orleans Jazz was like, well, not the New Orleans, I meant the Utah Jazz was like, no, we're not interested in selling it. So Benson decided to rename that team, which is known as the New Orleans Hornets, to the Pelicans because of the state bird on the flag. So they're known as the New Orleans Pelicans. And fun fact is the Pelicans did not exist on long time. I mean, they did exist a while back, but they were the minor league baseball team. They did exist a while back as a minor league baseball team, so they decided to bring back the Pelicans. Right after that, it was not until when Michael Jordan bought the team, the Charlotte Bobcats, and now he renamed them as the original Charlotte Hornets. And they brought back the original history, which I'll give them that. Now, this is something that is so weird. These both franchise started at slightly the same year and stuff. Well, here's what happened. So the original Rockets were both actually the Houston Rockets and the Denver Rockets. So this is one of the weirdest requests. Although that you guys already know, there are the Denver Nuggets, the Denver Rockets. So, however, the only thing as I know of what happened was they were the original from the ABA, the American Basketball Association, the Denver Rockets, which is the at the time which you already know now the Denver Nuggets, but the Houston Rockets play at the NBA. Kind of similar like the NFL and the AFL they merge. Ever since the merger happened with between the American Basketball Association and the National Basketball Association, because there were two different brands and now they merged together. Similar like how NFL to AFL or you could say WCW when it was purchased by WWE when they became to merge. So it's really, really kind of strange to see two teams with two same names. Well, at the time, not strange because they're both from different brands, but ever since they came across together. So, however, I heard that. Now, bear with me. I don't know everything about it. If you guys want to say the full story, if anybody knows the history of the Denver Nuggets, if you're a Nuggets fan. However, all I know that the original owner sold it to the other two owners, and since then, because the Houston Rockets already have the name, they decided to change it up. So probably they come up with the name Nuggets because I think it's dedicated to the coal mine or something like mine gold somewhere around in Colorado, I believe, which I know a little bit of history about it. It's kind of pretty interesting, and it's kind of weird that you have this is like the only thing in the list that two franchise with the two same name, two different franchise using the two same names, but they started the same year, but two different brands until the merger. That's when the Denver Nuggets are known as right now because they used to be the Denver Rockets, which we only can keep one Rockets, which is going to be Houston because they're known for space and stuff like that. Okay, so for anyone that lives in Nashville, Tennessee, or if any like let's say new generations that didn't notice, now let me tell you guys something. Your Titans are not the original Titans. The original Titans are, which we all know them as the New York Jets. So the original Titans, either you guys can call them the New York Titans, but I believe they're called the Titans of New York, which is kind of weird. Like it doesn't matter whether you want to call them New York Titans or because they're usually called the Titans of New York. However, the only thing I know of the franchise they played like between from 1960 all the way to 1962. However, the team got into a bankrupt situation, and I believe at the time the NFL or maybe the AFL, I don't know if they were on because I know they were part of the AFL as well, because they were feared that if they lose a New York franchise, everything's going to go bankruptcy. However, everything changes until when a guy named Sonny something, I forgot his last name because I think his first name is Sonny. He said that he bought every well. No, he said I meant to say was he bought the team, and he renamed them in 1962 to the New York Jets. And by 1965, after when they relocated from the Polo Grounds to Shea Stadium at the time, the New York Jets became a franchise, a franchise team, and with the upcoming at the time Broadway Joe, you guys know him as Joe Namath. However, the Titans name was never been used all the way until, like I believe, from 1999, which and that's not until when the original Houston Oilers decided to relocate the team from Houston to Tennessee. Well, they did not move to Nashville right away. They moved to Memphis, but they were still called the Tennessee Oilers. That's not until when the newer at the time Nissan Stadium, which I heard they're getting a new stadium soon. They are getting like I say, they're getting a new stadium. They renamed the team from Tennessee Oilers to the Tennessee Titans, which Bud Adams, the original creator, the original creator owner of the Houston Oilers, still kept the name, but he rechanged his franchise name to the Titans. And sadly, by that time, the NFL decided to have no team to use the name Oilers ever again. Which I heard, fun fact, in the at the time 2002, the Houston Texans were supposed to be called the Oilers, but ever since the controversy, they decided to rename them to the Houston Texans, which I believe they should have been Houston Oilers, but fortunately it's not going to happen. But I don't know. It's whatever's decision. But yeah, like I say, if anyone thinks that the Titans are the newer version team, well, guess what? Not really. The Titans of New York or New York Titans, you guys can look it up. They existed way before the newer version of the Tennessee Titans, which is kind of makes sense. Like it's kind of funny. The Titans were playing New York, but the name wasn't used until they got the name back in Tennessee Titans. I don't know. Okay, now bear with me. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. If Bud Adams was the one that got up the name and made an agreement with the New York Jets owner, whoever was the owner at the time, to use the name Titans. I'm not so sure, or he just got it out from himself, but I'm not so sure. But that's kind of a controversial question. So yeah. Now this is something that a lot of Milwaukee Brewer fans, even myself, that I didn't notice that the Brewers that we're playing that they were seeing right now are a new version of the team because the original Brewers are the Baltimore Orioles. Now the Milwaukee Brewers started the original team, which is the Baltimore Ravens, started from 1894 to 1901. So, however, as I read the article, it says because of the end of the 1990 season, there has been some controversial because the American League was removing itself from baseball national agreement, which makes that some of the teams were folded, some were kicked out. However, the original Milwaukee Brewers, the original team, wasn't kicked out after the loss to the Detroit Tigers, from the suffering loss and everything, to this day and stuff like that, they decided to relocate the team all the way from Milwaukee to St. Louis, which they were called the St. Louis Browns. And after the St. Louis Browns, they became known as the Baltimore Orioles, which I believe, let me see, yep, they were. So this is kind of pretty interesting because however, the Brewers did not exist all the way up to 1970 because at the time they were called the Seattle Pilots, which they only exist for 1 year from 1969. But it's kind of really amazing me that the Brewers that they existed way before that. A lot of fans that didn't notice that the original team started out as the Baltimore Orioles. Then now they have the newer version team, which it was relocated from Seattle. But it's like I don't know. Like I said before, it's controversial that the whoever's the owner that moved that franchise did copy it from the original Brewers. I'm not so sure, but it's kind of pretty amazing to see that the Brewers that it was well known talk. It was well known talk. I don't know if it is or it's mainly. I think it's mainly mostly talk down in Milwaukee. I'm not so sure if you're a Brewers fan. Comment down below, but it's kind of really pretty. Didn't notice and pretty interesting. I didn't notice. So this is going to be a quick thing. Now a lot of national fans that maybe some that knows their history, but others that didn't notice that the Nationals started way before, way before, which they're known as the Minnesota Twins. So anyway, so the Washington Nationals, the team was founded in 1901 in Washington D.C. They were originally called the Washington Senators, but however they were changed to the Nationals between from 1905 to 1955, and then they renamed them to Senators again. It's really well known talk about this team. We don't know what's happening. I read the article. Nothing much is going on that I know. But I do notice, like I say, because the team started a long time ago, way before the original team, because you already know the Washington Nationals were a relocated team. They were originally from Montreal, which at the time they were known as the Montreal Expos, and then they moved till 2005, which they renamed it to the Washington Nationals. It's kind of weird, like you have the Senators and the Nationals. They're both, neck and neck, changing names from one to this and then to the other. Then they relocated all the way till fewer other. I think the next city was, which y'all know them, is Minnesota, which you already know, the Minnesota Twins. However, it's great to see the Nationals, again. But even though I didn't notice, but they were just a newer version team. But I'm still hoping that the Montreal gets a baseball team. They get their Expos back because Montreal deserve to have their Expos back. Okay, so this is one of the most weirdest thing in the list. So the Phillies did start it in 1883, but however, they used the name Blue Jays from 1944 through all the way till 49. But it's kind of weird because I thought they were called the Blue Jays Phillies or something, but it's weird. So I think it started like think they had a fan contest at the time, and the management decided to choose the Blue Jays because of some fan submission of Elizabeth Crooks, who received $100 war bond in comparison, something like that. But however, it was not the claim has never happened like somewhere around in the I believe the 2000s or something. That's kind of weird because that's like what like at the time that's like 40, 50 years later or something. I'm not so sure. But they did adopted the name Blue Jays, but for some reason I don't know nothing article, don't know anything about it. But however, they did rename them back to the Phillies. However, it's funny because the Phillies did face a team called the Blue Jays, which is not until 1993's World Series that they already, that they were they were like trying to against them, the Blue Jays. However, the Blue Jays already knocked them out, but they were called the Toronto Blue Jays. So anybody from Toronto, if you guys think that the Blue Jays are a new franchise team, well, guess what? Unfortunately, I hate to tell everybody from Toronto, Canada, that your team is not the original team. You're the newer version of the team. The original Blue Jays are from Philadelphia, and they were called as the Philadelphia Blue Jays or Blue Jays Phillies, something like that. I'm not so sure. Like I said before, not that much things to talk about it, but even though what we do know is that the Blue Jays were the original Philadelphia team until they decided to rename the brand, which is the Toronto Blue Jays. Okay, so this is something that many of some people may or may not notice. So, all right, so anyone that is from Houston, if you guys know the Texans, well, guess what? The Texans were not, you're not the original Texans. You're the newer version of the Texans. So here's why. The original Texans is my rival team, the Kansas City Chiefs, which, I'm a Raider fan, so go Raiders, by the way. Anyways, so what I was told that the Texans, the original Texans, which they were not called the Houston Texans, they used to play in Dallas, Texas. I heard at the time there was a bit of a beef hatred relations between the AFL, NFL at the time before the merger happens, and they were fighting for the city of Dallas, which I heard at the time Dallas was the second smallest city of the United States, and how could the smallest city of the United States could handle two professional teams? Well, they did, but unfortunately the Cowboys got the huge favor, and that forces the Texans to relocate it. However, by I believe it was 1962 or 63, Lamar Hunt himself decided to relocate his franchise from Dallas all the way to, you already know, Kansas City Chiefs, which they already renamed them to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think I heard they got the name because it has to do with Lamar Hunt. Is it because of he's the chief or something? I'm not so sure, but that's what I was told. Well, not I was told, but that's what I was heard actually. But like I said before, it's kind of weird that like I mentioned before about the Titans, the what I mentioned earlier on the video, that is kind of strange, that a lot of Texans fans, especially from the Houston side, didn't notice that they're the newer version of the team because the original Texans they played in Dallas, but now they're the Kansas City Chiefs. So I bet imagine, you know, it's kind of like so weird if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you are having a beef rivalry with your crosstown team, the Texans, the Dallas Texans. Now they're Kansas City Chiefs, and now you can have your Texans rivalry again. You get to see them again, but this time in a newer city, which is in Houston. It's like, you have a rivalry with this guy, and you guys represent the same city. You hate this guy, and now this guy moved the franchise until he's back again. He came back to life. but this time as a newer city, which is the Houston Texans. So it's kind of pretty neat and really strange at the same time because it's not until like I said before, because 1962, 1963, somewhere right there, after the Texans left Texas, Texas will not see the name Texans again. That's not until 2002, which is at the time the expansion team came in and they were known as the Houston Texans. And like I said before, early on in the video, they were supposed to be called the Houston Oilers, but Tiny's owner didn't want it, so they decided to say, all right, fine, we're just going to bring back the name Texans this time, but in Houston. I think this one mostly a lot of Jets fans might know this, but maybe not everyone noticed. But the original Winnipeg Jets are known as the Arizona Coyotes. So for the reason what's going on, like when I read the article, I read, it says because the original Jets owner decided to sold the American businessman. However, they were threatening to move the team to the entire franchise to Minnesota. But however, the other team got the best of them. I think it was the one of the teams. I forgot what was it, but I heard it didn't work out. So they turned it on to Phoenix, Arizona, and since then, by 1996, the original Jets have relocated all the way to Phoenix, which they were known as the Phoenix, but now Arizona Coyotes. However, the franchise didn't got a team until 2011 because the Atlanta Thrashers at the time had a bad agreement with what's going on down there in Atlanta, Georgia. So once they relocated to Arizona, there was a bit of agreements, like similar to the Baltimore. I mean, not Baltimore, similar to our Modell and the Cleveland organization, the city, that they decided not to, take the name, the colors, everything to keep the Browns in Baltimore, the name, the rights, and everything like that, which they renamed it to the Baltimore Ravens. Now that since they have to relocate the Thrashers to Winnipeg, they cannot be called, like I say, they can't be called Winnipeg Thrashers. So they decided to bring back the original team, the Winnipeg Jets. It's good that hockey is big in Canada. That's what I give them that. And by the way, that if I heard, not by the way, but I meant to say was I heard rumors that the now that the Winnipeg Jets and the Arizona Coyotes are threatening to relocate because of something. I know, yes, Coyotes, yes, but Jets, I didn't know. So correct me if I'm wrong if you're a Jets fan right now. But I heard there's been some controversies going on like right now that they're threatening to relocate both franchise, which I hope not. I hope they stay where they're from. The Jets deserve to stay in Winnipeg. The Coyotes deserve to stay in Arizona. Even if they did relocate the Coyotes, I could possibly say maybe move back, maybe move to Atlanta or something. But definitely, please, or don't. I think it's best off to stay in Arizona. I think they're best off to stay there. Just like the Jets, they should stay where in Winnipeg because they cannot afford to lose their franchise for the second time, especially with the same name and stuff like that. This is one of the most somewhat well known that everyone didn't notice. Now, the original team, the Baltimore Orioles. Now, I know they were the original Milwaukee Brewers, but however, they're the new version of Baltimore Orioles because the original Baltimore Orioles are known as their hated rival team, the New York Yankees. So there was not much to say about it. I believe the franchise played only for 2 years, from 1901 to 1902. But however, there's been some dispute between two leagues that they cannot coexist and stuff like that. So they had no choice but to force the franchise to relocate to Baltimore. Well, not to Baltimore, to New York. I'm sorry, to New York. So the original Baltimore Orioles, there's not that much to say right now at the time because like I said, the only thing I noticed that there was been some controversials. That's all I know and stuff. So they decided to relocate the team to New York City, which they were not called the Yankees right away. I think they were called the New York Highlanders. That's what I heard. But it took them a fewer years. Then they became known as the New York Yankees. And the Orioles, like I mentioned before earlier, they didn't start until fewer years later. Then that's when the Orioles came in. It's kind of funny because the Orioles are facing themselves, or they're facing a team that used to have their name, or it's like saying that, hey, I exist, now I don't exist, now I'm gone, now I came back and I want to face that franchise who used to had me and now I'm going to get you back and stuff, something like that. Even though they're a really good rivalry, that should be part of the rivalry books because the original Yankees are the Yankees are the original Baltimore Orioles, and then the Orioles right now, as you see, they're the newer version of the team. Pretty neat, pretty interesting stuff like that, but kind of cool, strange at the same time. But yeah. Alrighty, guys. So this is all I can say right now. If you guys Now, all right, so correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm missing any more teams, let me know down in the comment section down below because you know that that's the only teams that I know of as of right now. So, like I say, correct me down below if there's any teams I'm missing because I believe I didn't. But even if I did, just correct me right now. So, yeah, guys, just if you guys like the video, don't forget to hit the like, comment, share, subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to see more info. All right, guys, this is AALS 3179 clocking out.